good go, I lost track of what was happening. You can laugh at me, it's totally fine. Hey, and there we go on Twitch. I always have to double check that it's going to go live because I'm paranoid about that. Welcome back to Worldbuilders Studio. This is fun. Woo! Look, we both have like spacey sci-fi backgrounds with the thing. It's also throwing me off because my mic is right here.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like a weird optical illusion that's happening. So you can't see it, but at the same time, and then when I point it out, it's like, oh, there's a thing right there.
Your finger disappears.
Oh God! Hi everyone, I'm Halli. Thank you for joining us. Excited to have you with us. And with me today, I have Good Buddy and the original Necromancer Lich Man. I'm going with that. I was gonna say Lich Fan, and then I realized how bad that sounded. So in 2 seconds, I switched it in my head. I'm only doing this to throw you, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I'm trying to like parse it in my head. Lich fan?
Uh-huh. Bone
Nope.
Daddy.
Bone Daddy.
That's where we're going. Okay, well, I'm good. We're going with that because that's literally what the meta.
Bone Daddy.
We're so stupid. Nate is here. Nathan's here from DM's Test Kitchen and DM's Test Kitchen Chef's Night. Welcome to my little corner of chaos.
Thanks for having me.
You signed up for this.
I sure did. I mean, I like a little chaos in my life.
Well, bam.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the people what you do?
But what do I do?
What
really?
What is? I don't know. What is it?
You guys do most of the everything.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. What? And we'll get into this, but like elevator pitch for DMTK and Chef's Night. What would you tell someone?
Okay, so DMTK, Dungeon Master Test Kitchen, our main channel, is a podcast that's built around testing out different types of tabletop RPGs and sort of doing a review on them. We do have a continual through line story that's happening. So we always play the same characters, but they're being sort of we've always sort of attributed somewhat to Quantum Leap, in the sense that our characters are being put in different bodies in different systems, and they had to sort of accomplish a goal there. And that's sort of our way of sort of explaining why we're still playing the same characters, but we're doing different systems. And so we'll do like an arc in one system that fits that system setting, and then we'll do a review and we'll put all of that stuff up for folks to listen to. Yeah, so that's the main channel. The secondary channel, which is the one that you're with us on, Chef's Night, the idea was sort of born from this conversation that Steve and I ended up having on Twitter. I had put up a poll and basically said, DMs out there, how often do you guys get to play? Do you get to play once a week? Do you get to play once a month? Are you just a forever DM and never get to play at all? And then Steve sort of hopped in and was like, man, it would be a really cool idea to, bring a bunch of DMs together on a podcast and never really get to play. And I'd be totally into that. And so from there, Chef's Night was born. And we've been bringing on people that very rarely play most of the time, and from other podcasts, and just really finding a really fun and interesting way to network with people locally and not so locally, considering like you and Steve are on the other side of the continent, and
The firewall.
yeah, also the firewall, yeah, south of the border, which for you guys is me north of the border.
Yeah,
It's
right,
a
right.
really weird thing to think about, right? Like when every time, like in TV, in whatever, when people say south of the border,
Mm-hmm.
they're always referring to Mexico,
Right.
right? And as a Canadian, I'm like, I say south of the border, and as much as I'm talking about the US, my brain still goes to Mexico
That's weird. What?
because it's so like it's
Because it's
so
so
prevalent.
prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Language is
that was an
weird.
offshoot. Yeah, it is weird, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah. So to
yeah. So
clarify, if you didn't get it, Nathan's in Canada, I'm in the US, and we're actually several thousand miles apart, but through the magic of the internet. Ta-da.
we're on a single screen.
Oh my god, what? And we don't hardly ever see each other when we record. That's what's funny.
Mhm.
Because we're usually just in voice for the podcast, so.
Yeah.
Chef's Night's fun. It has been a lot of fun to kind of. I jumped in what, third season?
Yes.
Third season. I lose track of everything. Um, and it's been fun to get to play, like you had said. And then you throw Chaos Ball Steve in the mix, and it's just it's ridiculous.
And Steve has been with us since day one.
Yeah.
And he's been great to have on, because like it's nice to have that. Um, it's nice to have at least like someone that's consistent, right?
Yeah.
As much as, hey, I want to bring new people in. The only way to make a story make sense is if there's like one or two people that are consistent. So it's been good to have Steve with us the whole way through,
Yeah.
and have you on, like at least since season 3, right? I've been able to like throw a bunch of curveballs.
Stop me dead in my tracks a few times, which is very hard to do. Oh, hey, Mimics and Monstrosities, what's up?
Hey!
So yeah, it's been very fun. I highly encourage everyone to give both of them a listen, especially because there is so much. Y'all were doing it before it was a larger discussion in the world of D&D itself, but trying out other systems that are not tied to wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have been doing it for a while now. So, what do you think your favorite system's been that y'all have tried? You personally.
Yes.
I'm curious. I'm Jed because there's so many that you get a chance to poke into.
Yeah. So for a little bit of context, we started with the system called The End of the World. You play as yourself. Um, current current time, if the apocalypse happened, based on the setting book. I liked that, but probably not my favorite of everything that we've done. Blades in the Dark, though. I'd say Blades in the Dark has got to be my top right now. And we've done End of the World, we've done D&D, we've done Blades in the Dark. We've done Fiasco. Ooh. And we've done Star Wars.
That's right. What is Fiasco exactly? Because I've heard of it, but I've never really. I'm not super familiar with it, like at all.
So Fiasco is a pure role-playing game.
Okay.
There is not it's not very mechanic heavy.
That's interesting. All right.
You come in, you have a book, and you as a group decide on what setting within the book you want to do. Okay. Then you have a bunch of die, a bunch of d6s, and everyone around the table goes through the setting and picks a picks like a table
Mm-hmm.
in and each table has like, so a person will pick a table, and then if that table has been picked but someone else is interested in it, they will pick a category within the table, and then once all of the dice are used up, that is your setting. So it is basically a bunch of tables brought together um, within a setting, and then you all play scenes within within this setting. So you do, I believe, 2 scenes per person
Mm-hmm.
per act. So there's an act one. Everybody, you go around and you either start a scene, which means the rest of the table determines how the scene ends, whether it's positive or negative for your character,
Okay.
or you choose to end a scene in your preferred way, which is negative or positive,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of the table helps you build that scene. So it's one or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, you go in and you're saying, you know what, I want to do a scene where my character and your character we're having it out at a bar, right? And it's going to end good for my character.
Okay.
Okay, now that's all I'm allowed to do
Right.
besides role play my character. The rest of the table is like, okay, well, this is how you guys got to this situation, and this is what it looks like. Um, and then at the end, for the first act, I take a die and I gift a die, whether a negative or a positive die,
Mm-hmm.
to a person.
Okay.
Um, Now, in the second act, it's all the same thing. We go around the table twice, but this time you hold on to the die for doing your thing.
I got you. Okay.
And at the end of the game, however many die you have of each color,
Mm-hmm.
you add them up and you subtract one from the other, and your leftover points determines how well your character fares at the end of the game.
What?
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And you're my second guest in a row that has talked mainly about it, to start off, mechanical light or mechanics less games that are all just strictly narrative
Mhm.
roleplay driven.
Yeah.
Which I know is very bendy for a lot of folks who come into dice and roll heavy systems like a D&D or Pathfinder or
Mhm.
take your pick. But I find a heavy appeal there as someone who could role play for 4 hours and not get tired of it.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. That's
Mhm.
really cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I really appreciate mechanics light games,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially for like new folks. Um, I don't. A lot of people, obviously this is another thing that's pretty like prevalent in the uh, TTRPG community, is a lot of people are like, go D&D first because everybody knows D&D.
Mm-hmm.
But as someone like just coming into the community, there's a lot of mechanics to figure out, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially if you're someone who's maybe not super
Got a
into
big
like
ass
role
book.
playing,
Yeah.
and that's just one of them.
Yeah.
What was that? Just the player's handbook?
There's just the PHP, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so Fiasco is a tiny book, like the size of my phone. Like, I don't know if the size there. Yeah, yeah. See, um, like it's not big,
Yeah.
and it's mostly tables. Roll a table, roll a d6, figure out what you want to do. Roll a handful of d6s. That's your whole setting. That's your whole game.
Yeah.
Now just yell at each other. In character. Do it in character.
It's like the ultimate improv. It's the ultimate acting experiment in a lot
Yep.
of ways. That's really cool. Because I
Yeah,
think
and
the impression, at least from talking to people outside of playing tabletop games, is that, oh my god, but that doesn't that mean I have to just come up with stuff on the fly? It can be very difficult. It can be very intimidating. I am not going to downplay that at all. But for something like that, if you're not having to do math and you're not having to worry about like I've literally had people say, what's a D20?
Yeah, we've had that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to
absolutely.
worry about it.
Yep.
We're not.
And
Everyone's
like,
seen a D6. Everyone knows what that looks like.
yeah. And for me, who's like the ultimate no planning DM, like I can't imagine like anyone. I can't imagine anyone else doing it the way I do it. I can't. Like,
I don't know how you do what you do half the time, because we're like, we're gonna do this, and then you're like, yeah, okay, sure. Oh my god, we just broke something.
oh, but you don't break anything because I don't have anything planned.
You don't have anything play. How the frig? How the frig? Oh my god, I can feel my anxiety like creeping
Well,
right now.
so that's the thing, right? Like I obviously have things planned,
Yeah.
but they're not like, it's not in depth, right? Like I can't. I feel like my own plans. So everyone says the plan never survives the first encounter, right? Like
Right.
never. And I think when I tried to plan like so hard, like spent the time doing it, I was more anxious about the fact that things were not going to go the way I planned, right? And I think I was like, okay, well, if I have story beats,
Mm-hmm.
right, that can be scattered about, that people can hit, I don't need to push anyone anywhere. I don't need to do anything. I can say, I have this encounter, I have these people, whatever happens in the game, I know that these people are going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can take this story beat from here and I can put it over here if need be. So like, in that sense, it's more about building the world and having it flexible to where things might happen. And then if you guys go somewhere, you know what, it might not necessarily be moving the story forward, but you might find something else that's interesting. And I know what's happening in like all of the possible places where you might end up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to plan that because that's more time than the sessions that we have. So yeah, like I will and like you've probably noticed this, you guys will say something and I will stop,
Mm-hmm.
and I will process it, and then I will answer back, and then we'll have that like RP conversation.
That is one of my favorite things in the world. I have to tell you that right now. It's like, I did it, baby. I did it good. I made Nate stop for a second.
Like, oh, and like I'm okay with that, right? Like that's sort of the I have that expectation of you guys at this point, that it's like, okay, well, I don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I kind of prefer it that way. And in that sense, you guys don't have to really expect that something huge and planned out and like fantastic is coming your way either. Like there are some story beats that I've definitely planned out, and I'm like, oh, This is going to be good. Um, but yeah, I uh, I am very much a plan the world,
Hmm.
and the players will happen upon it. Um, as long as I know who exists within the area that they are in, then I don't really need to plan.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
world continues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no matter where we're at or wherever we've fucked off to,
Hmm.
or what weird side path we've fallen down. And I started, like, when I started running games, I kept seeing that discourse come up
Hmm.
again and again. Like, don't forget that things happen continuously in your world. It's not static, because the world doesn't care about your players
Hmm.
or your players' characters. They're pieces moving in a giant cogwork machine
Yeah.
that is happening. Because one of the things that I see come up constantly, Reddit and different Twitter threads and stuff, is that I want to DM, but how in the world do I start? And I would love for people to stop telling these newbie DMs, like, you have to plan stuff.
Yeah. Just, I think one of the big things is I'm,
Now,
and,
granted,
and I
it's not
feel like
everyone's style, but
it's not everyone's style. Yeah. If you feel like you need to plan every bit to feel comfortable, do that.
by the grace of God,
Absolutely.
go ye. Yeah, just like,
Yeah, absolutely.
have at it.
I am not that person.
Yeah,
Like, I'm the person who's like, this is my world, this is what's going on. I know it pretty well. The
yeah,
only things I don't know are the things that I'm expecting you guys to fill in, right? And as soon as you do, I know that.
yeah.
I know it is, right? Um, and and then I can play with that.
Hmm.
Whether I like flay it and throw it at you, um, or wrap it up nicely in a little box. You're like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah,
But the yeah, it's hard because I don't ever want to give a brand new DM my advice, because my advice is like, fuck it, just go out there and have fun.
just do it.
Um, yeah, but like, also at the same time, my biggest advice is always know your world.
Yeah, yeah,
Know the, like, even if you're doing like a wizard's thing, at least know your adventure, I guess.
know the adventure. Know where you're probably gonna want to deviate.
Hmm.
Everybody deviates.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody
Yeah, like
deviates
my
because
my
your
DM right
players
now.
will deviate.
Yeah. Yeah, my DM right now for my Tuesday games, he's pulling from like a bunch of different places, which is so much fun.
Yeah,
And this is his, I think it's his like first big DM, like crew.
nice.
His He was one of the players that I finished off my first campaign with recently, and then he took over. So
Okay.
um, we're following sort of loosely along the Acquisitions Incorporated book, but he's also like pulling a bunch of other stuff from different places and weaving his own story in,
Hmm.
using the world that we were playing in previously in the campaign I was running, but like in a different part of the world,
Hmm.
uh, implementing stuff that had happened 50 years before, when his crew beat the defeated the big bad. They let him go. They
Defeat looks like running away.
No. So what happened was, they he's a big old dragon, like one of the original gods of the world,
Oh, okay.
who was like trapped in the moon as his prison. Um,
I'm remembering now. Okay.
they the person they thought was the big bad uh, ended up not being said person. Uh, she
Interesting.
was she was trying to rebuild um, basically her fortress from the early days to strengthen her grasp on the moon to basically keep it maintained. Like her power was weakening. Okay, well, I'm going to use this mass restoration spell, which turns back a large section of the continent to a time before, rebuilding my structure and thus giving me more power.
Okay.
They came in, they interrupted it. One of the characters was like, well, I've got an extra soul inside me. I will give that up. You and him together can use your combined power to probably keep this thing at bay. It didn't work so well.
Oh no. Oh no.
The moon exploded, which was awesome.
That's amazing.
Uh, and then they ended up having to fight this big dragon. And they get to the end, and they're almost ready to. So they basically kill the dragon's body, and they had one last thing to do, which they completely failed. And this dragon's soul absorbs the two other souls, so the queen and the character's secondary, and like a sprite, just
Oh shit. Oh shit.
disappears.
Oh shit. Did everyone just pause and go, fuck?
Oh yeah, everybody did. Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
I mean, they still retired, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you know, consequences be damned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like old smoker cough today from my allergies. If I sound like this, I don't, but it's like, oh, damn it. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know because I obviously the hard lead in for the Twitch information on this is Bone Daddies and Necromancy. So, which I blame Nathan for the Bone Daddies term, which I then stole because I don't care. I've never heard that before, and it made me laugh. So, Nathan and I are both. It won't shock anybody who knows me, but and I doubt it shocks anyone who knows Nathan really well. But
No.
for the casual viewer, we're both fairly dark in some of the things that we get a kick out of, which maybe says something. Oh, and weren't you and Kayla watching Hannibal for the first? Like you were watching Hannibal for the first time?
We haven't started yet.
Motherfucker.
We've been going through like a bunch of different stuff. Like
God.
Some really disturbing like documentaries.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yay.
And I'm good with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But goddamn, do I just want to like sit down and fucking like watch a kids show right now? Like,
yeah. Just watch something like nonsensey or just lighthearted. Yeah.
we have that though. Like we started watching Modern Family.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's good.
That's good.
And also we're almost at the end of Supernatural. And oh my god. I can't wait for it to be done.
Oh my god, that's not good. That's not a good statement.
Okay, but like this is my issue is that like when we binge things,
like, and then bitch about them.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah.
I was going off of what your almost Freudian slip there, but yeah.
Yeah. we binge things, And then we get to the point where we're realizing that like some of the character progression is actually like regression because
Mm.
it's gone on for so long. This season though has been real good. Like out of nowhere, all of the people that I really haven't liked have suddenly like become people.
Oh, interesting.
Um, so like world building is real good. It's interesting. I really like the whole angel and demon lore.
Hmm.
All of that stuff is really cool. It's definitely my jam. Probably because I'm also kind of one of those weird folks that likes cults and stuff. Like, um, but all of like the character progression that happened up until like season 5
Hmm.
all disappeared for like 9 seasons. Right.
It's like you're
And
watching a totally different show in some aspects.
in some aspects, yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, obviously these characters go through some major trauma,
Sure.
but yeah.
I haven't
Anyway,
never watched a single episode of that show. I don't have a single point of reference for, and nor do I think I would like start it.
I
I
I
think it
don't
would
know.
make
Like
me angry.
I don't.
I don't have a
I'm gonna
lot of.
finish watching it. I'm enjoying it, but I'm also like, there are some decisions made here. They're not great.
I just don't have the patience. I really don't. I find myself with like shoddy world building or shoddy character progression, especially those two things really. I
Mm-hmm.
can sit through nonsense if it makes a modicum of sense.
Yeah.
But then when you start, you're like, you know, those last like 50 episodes you just watched? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Just like scratch them out and start over again.
Yeah.
I can't do that. You
I will
are a
say
far more
review
patient
process is
person.
fucking amazing. Curse
hasn't
TV, you know.
hasn't that been on forever? Oh, Mimics just said it's the final season finishes off this fall. It's been like 15 years or something crazy like that.
Seasons, yep.
Uh uh
Yeah.
yeah, because it
Yeah.
started when I was in college. Oh, I don't like that sentence. I don't like that sentence at all. Oh, season 15. What the mother?
Yeah.
No, at some point, just rip it open, let it go.
Well, season 5 was supposed to be the last season, and then it was so popular that they just kept it going.
Just kill it.
Right? Yeah.
Just kill it with fire. Stab it. Do something.
Let's talk necromancers.
Speaking of things that involve death, before we did this, I was sitting downstairs listening to the neighbors scream and thinking about like, wouldn't it be really hilarious if I asked Nathan what his first necromancer was?
I've only got one.
Okay.
Only one.
Okay.
And I play him in our 13th age game. His name is Brimlad, and he is a merfolk necromancer.
Good name. And merfolk necromancer is not a combination of things that most people would think of. It's good shit.
I believe I pissed off our first DM because we share DMing in our 13th age game. We rotate between myself, Kayla, Tyler, and whenever he wants, our friend Jeff. And I said, Jeff, I'm making a mercromancer.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
So bad.
It's so
And he
good.
Mm-mm. Um, and Brimlad is the kind of guy who he's a noble.
Okay.
Necromancy is just like a thing. It's just one of the roles of the people
Hmm.
um, in his community. And he rolls around with this uh, his skeletal minion, which is always with him. It's basically just like a pet that he can bring into battle.
Nice.
Uh, his name is Bob.
Of course it is. I. Yep.
He doesn't know anything about Bob.
Ah,
Um,
what do you need to know, though? I mean, really?
well, flavor wise, they sort of discuss in the books like maybe your skeletal minion is someone that you know, or someone that was close to you, or maybe a most hated enemy, or like you are attaching their soul to this minion to constantly do your bidding and fight for you, and then die, and then you bring them back right away is the thing.
So this is not a mindless shambling of bones.
um it's not supposed to be.
Okay.
He's supposed to be like your minion. He can't talk, obviously. He is just a shambling of bones. But um, as as a necromancer, you tell him what you want him to do.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you were to not, it could probably just do its own thing.
Okay. So
Yeah,
this isn't it like an AI situation where they have to follow three laws and
I expect not. Like it's not that detailed.
okay.
Um, and so one of uh, we all did like this character survey when we started.
Okay.
Um, something Kayla had written up for when we were all kind of figuring out our motives and figuring out um, quest lines and stuff for when we all were able to rotate in and take over, and how do we focus on each particular character to sort of make it engaging, and then that way we have a whole list of shit that we can deal with.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I had put in there was, well, I mean, Brimlad obviously wants to prove that he's the best of the best. Um, but like, he doesn't really care about working super hard at it. He just wants to like run around and do shit. Like,
Oh,
eventually he gets it,
all
right? Like,
accolades, no effort. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. He's just gonna wander, um, oh, he also doesn't know how to swim, so that's like one of his like things.
The minute you told me that, I was like, "Excuse me, what? What
um,
now?"
so yeah, he'll just like when he disappears from the crew, he'll just find a current and be like, "Well, I guess wherever this is going, I'm going, wherever it spits me out." Um, which I expect like his actual travel companion, who is this like little Cthulhu hatchling thing that floats around with him, it probably really doesn't like or appreciate. Um, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
I can tell.
So I was thinking the other day, and get back to that. I was like, oh yeah, one of the things that he wanted to do was have a conversation with his dad.
Hmm.
His dad is dead, died in the collapse of his home city. Um, there was like a peasant uprising
Okay.
when he was younger. They destroyed the manor. His mom and him got out. His dad did not. And I was like, it would be really interesting if this whole quest that he had was, I'm going to raise my dad from the dead and have one last conversation with him and let
Hmm.
him on his way. But then the actual reality was that his dad has been attached to Bob the whole time.
I need a minute. Hold on. What the fuck? Oh my god! Okay, continue.
And then, like, basically he finds out later that, oh, yeah, well, I guess, like, my dad's been helping me out this whole time.
The payoff is so good! We were closer than we ever were. We're closer now than we ever were in life. He's literally right there. That's fucked up.
But that's not for me to decide. That's...
Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Let's think about it. 'Cause, like, I've got this feat on Bob where I can, like, light him on fire.
Oh.
And he does more damage.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean,
like, how pissed off would your dad be if you were just, like, on a whim lighting him on fire?
Sending him into battle. Go forth, minion! Oh, dad! Minion? You have to apologize every time you do it. What you know. Sorry.
I mean, at this point, he doesn't know anything.
Oh
just,
my god.
Who is this Bob?
It's just Bob. Oh god, that hurt. I felt that in my soul. See, not everyone would think this shit is funny. I think that's fucking hilarious. This will be the one episode of World Builders, except for maybe the one that Steve is going to be on at some point, where everyone just goes, "What the fuck?"
You know, it's just going to be an hour and a half of Steve ranting about either
3-5,
3-5, or Lord of the Rings.
Both.
Or both.
Both. Oh my god, we love you, Steve, but we also love you enough to shit talk you.
We know you.
We know you. There you go. There's the correct answer. It's interesting to me how appealing necromancers and necromancy is made to be in some of these systems versus how it is written or how it appears in a lot of more common media. As soon as you were talking about, you've got this skeleton minion beside you, I was thinking about, like, the Mortalitazi from Dragon Age, and how there are, these priests who oversee the dead, and it's seen as an art instead of something evil and meant to be besmirched, and all of these types of things. Outside of role-playing, do you think that there's any... Listen, we're not saying that you ought to go try to raise the dead and, like, kill a goat under a full moon, or, like, that's not what we're saying. It's an interesting way to play with morality.
Yeah.
Do you see any representations of, like, necromancy or this questionable, very gray area, or sometimes very dark area of morality that are intriguing in, like, common media? Is there anything you can think of?
That's a good question.
I was thinking about this the other night, because and I think a lot of people are getting to know this book series now. The second book is out. There's the Gideon the Ninth, which is fabulous. But the way that it was branded by the publisher was lesbian necromancers in space, and I was like, yes,
okay,
I'm there.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Meg forced me to read that. And it's
twist my rubber arm.
right, and it's so good. And then I started to read the second one yesterday, and I was like, this weirdly ties into what Nathan and I are going to be talking about. And in the second book, she is, spoilers because it just came out, so hold on a second. Okay, spoilers. She's dissociating at the beginning.
Okay.
Because something bad has happened, and I haven't quite figured out what that is yet.
Okay.
But the way they build the world is that these priests, for lack of a better word, all serve the Emperor God.
Okay.
And he's just a dude whose name is John, but they consider him God.
Okay.
Yep. And they're all on different planets.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're from the ninth planet, you oversee the tomb. And so you are a death cultist. Hardcore. Everything you prey on, like, knuckle bones. Like, it's hardcore gothic shit.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty cool. There's no heat in the building. They don't believe in it. Everything has to be dry and dusty and cold like a tomb.
Okay.
Even where you, like, sleep and everything. Yeah, there's no creature comforts, none of this shit.
Huh.
Just like, what?
All right.
And then when they were describing at the beginning of the second book how she is just pulling on her power, probably one of the most visceral explorations I've ever seen of what, like, necromancy might actually look like,
Mm-hmm.
is in order for her to fix a bone in her own wrist, she has to take someone else's bone and stab it through her own arm and then re-knit the bone with it.
That's real cool.
It's real cool, but I was like, oh, ah!
So, and that's kind of like, I really like appreciate that kind of detail,
Mm-hmm.
because, okay, so the idea of, say, like, necromancy in general is like it's eco-friendly. You're like, you're reusing, you're reanimating, whatever, right? Like, but
The
like,
ultimate recycled content. That's
right?
keep going.
But it's so, like, grisly, and it's
Yeah.
weird, and it's like, okay, sure, this person died, but like, what else are you gonna do with the body? What else are you gonna do with the bones? What else are you gonna do with this material that's left over? And if you're thinking, well, we're just gonna burn it, okay, well, there's better uses for that. I mean,
Right.
you don't, and you don't waste a whole animal, or you shouldn't,
Shouldn't.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to use every part. It's there. It's part of nature. And so that's where my thought process is
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to necromancy in general is, how are you using it? Are you
Right.
fucking with people's souls, or are you doing stuff with are you, like, using the whole body?
Yeah.
Right.
Just taking the husk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where there's that line.
Yeah.
Are you if you're messing with someone's soul, that gets a little dicey.
Yeah.
If you're saying, well, the person has passed on, this is now a tool, this is now a thing that can be used to improve or to fix or to feed or to whatever,
Right.
what's a different story altogether, right?
You're gonna have so much fun with that first season of Hannibal. Holy shit. Oh my god. Talk about using every part. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. It's not even really talking about him, though. I'm not.
Interesting.
You're gonna have an interesting time with that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I would love to, like, quote unquote, be in the room while you watch that first episode, because it's like, it's a thing. I can do a watch party. It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyways, no, I'm with you on that, because the area of the soul gets real tricky.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly, we're not gonna be, trying to besmirch or talk about anyone's religion or culture or anything like that, because death is treated so very differently from place to place, religion to religion, and that's certainly not an area for me to speak on. But when we're talking about fantasy worlds, it gets real interesting, because necromancers automatically get branded with that evil stamp. They take the evil stamp out and they stick it right on the character sheet. You're evil. Well, I don't know about that.
Okay, well, again, You've met Boris.
Right? Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just wanted to keep cooking.
Yeah. That's all he wants. It's fine.
Fine.
It's fine.
Right? I mean, you might be a little off put by the fact that a lich is cooking your food and he's your chef, but like, no big.
Yeah, but the food comes real in handy when we need it in the middle of a battle with a six-armed woman or whatever. Whatever we decide to run away from or get stuck in.
Yeah.
It winds up being a really a really interesting kind of path to go down, because everyone who's steeped in D&D lore for 10 seconds knows about like Acerarak. But and yes, he's horrifying. Legitimately horrifying, and not someone you would mess with lightly.
Yeah.
But he's compelling.
Mhm.
As is not a lich, but he is undead, as is Strahd. Very compelling.
Yeah.
Or that could be me. It's probably a little of both. Because I think you can play these characters as villains. I think you can build them as villains. Yeah. I do think it's also very possible to make them. It's an interesting way to test your players and how they would react. Yeah. Because we, like you said, we didn't blink at a lich chef. We're like, yeah, I don't know. We're all weird. Sure, whatever. And Teddy probably hired him, so I don't fucking know. Like, Eggs has no idea. She's just like, yeah, okay.
Sure. I don't think Teddy hired him, but I think he was very like, okay, I'm not gonna. You know the Teddy thing where he's just like,
Yep.
Can I make the final say, please, next time?
I'm not gonna kick the guy out of the job as long as he doesn't poison the food. We're good, or like bits of him don't fall off. We're fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, there was a moment where at the end of the first season, the end of the first or second season, they're all sitting down, they're having a drink, and Boris decides to sit down and have a drink with them, and Teddy's like, here you go, and he takes a shot, and it like spills out the bottom of his
yes.
And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna get you like a bib so you can just refill shot glass with the same stuff, and you can just keep drinking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Like,
shit.
That's perfect. That's a very Teddy thing to do. Like,
it is.
You don't. Oh, hey, you'll just be able to taste this over and over and over. You keep drinking.
Yeah.
and I think one of the big things that struck me was when I was reading about like lichdom in D&D, they were like, most of the time when a wizard, puts his soul in a phylactery and becomes a lich, the process doesn't go the way they want, and they like immediately align shift to evil. And I'm like, okay, you said most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Can we talk about that other?
Yeah. And so so my first campaign, I was using the Matt Koval's world that he sort of dubbed like Calabras. There's the undead wood, right? Like there's a whole section of like forest that is sort of owned by the undead, and this sort of like lich druid lives in this tree a little bit north of that, and she sort of overlooks this whole thing, but they didn't really go into any background. And I was like, her whole thing, the reason why she became a lich was because she wanted to continue to watch the forest and to protect it. Like, I don't see any evil there, right? Like, I don't see how she would turn evil when she had such kind of like a pure idea behind turning into a lich. So I sent my players down to do work for her, and they were like, I don't know if we want to do this.
Mhm.
Like, we feel really uncomfortable. And then it turned out that like half of her, like her court guard, were trying to overthrow her and betray her. Um,
Okay.
and so I was like, okay, well, this is the deal. They're going to try and overthrow her, take over, and then conquer the rest of the land. So you have a choice. You either help her or you kill her and you help
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
Like, you do what you feel.
Right.
these are your consequences for, you know.
Right. And now
But
you have stamped a morality on a piece that ultimately, without any, in the hands of another group or in the hands of another DM, they would have kill the lich and run in, raised everything, and then shit would have happened.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I try to make I try to make those things clear when the discussion is happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the discussion can't happen and they'll just charge in and do the thing to deal with the consequences. But um, everyone I played with has always been usually pretty good about, okay, let's hear them out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear the monologue. And if like halfway through the monologue we don't like what's going on, we're gonna shoot them. But uh yeah, um it so I've kind of come to the point where all of the pertinent information is in like the first 30 seconds of talking.
Mm-hmm. Here's the elevator pitch. Now, please don't shoot me. Yeah, it's.
Here to protect the woods. However, there's something going on, and all of the undead are gaining their sentience back. That includes my folks, and they're trying to start a coup.
Yeah.
Please help.
Yeah. Yeah. Please help.
Um,
Others bad.
these like there's 9 of them. These 4 that are right here, I definitely know are loyal to me. Um, they're
Right.
also sentient. Don't kill them.
Yeah. They're
Um,
cool.
they are not just mindless, whatever. Uh, but you might want to go into the woods and start hunting some big armored undeads.
Yep. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
When you're um when you're looking at things like undead or necromancers or what have you, where for you is the line between, because we already talked kind of about the morality line, but where for you is the line between interesting and undead and something that's more horrific? Is it a visceral thing? Is it a gore thing? Or is it an action, like the things that they do? Or is it somewhere a mix of?
I don't know if I've hit the point where I've been like, I'm not dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just because of how I naturally think about it. I don't necessarily go into like the deep gore,
Mm-hmm.
nasty stuff. And I don't really like. I don't go into a lot of detail um, when it comes to stuff like that because I just want to make sure that I'm not getting into a point where people might be uncomfortable.
Sure.
Um,
Eyeballs hanging out and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if I do that, it's usually on a joke, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, this undead person's talking to you, and they sneeze, and their eyeball pops out, and they're like, "Oh shit, sorry," like,
Yeah.
um, and I think I've done that a couple of times to you guys,
Yeah,
like,
you have.
whatever. Uh, so yeah, I don't get into the, oh yeah, this zombie's like shambling up and like their guts are hanging out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, our last session, um, those like acid spewing zombies that I threw at you
Yeah.
guys, um, the one was like, okay, I need extra range on this, but I gotta like eject all of my guts to be able to do it.
Right.
And then he couldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think like that's the most, and I didn't go into detail. I just like everything that you would expect to be inside the zombie is now outside.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a point across very clearly without getting too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah.
huh, huh.
Yeah. And like obviously I know the players, I know the people that we're playing with. I try to ask in advance, like if there's anything, like there's no go zones.
Mm-hmm.
Like me personally, I really wanted to use the monster I was using against you guys. Um, but I was not okay with the fact that like it is like an old edition monster. It's the hanging tree,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like, okay, well, first off, I'm gonna slap you a bunch of times, and then if you fail on the next turn, I'm gonna hang you. And I'm like,
Maybe
maybe
no.
not. Like I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I personally don't like that visual,
Yeah.
right? Um, but I'm not against like the idea of say a giant like picking you up with a single hand and like squeezing the life out of you kind of thing. And so I kind of took that sort of as a visual and sort of changed it a bit to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're like a boa constrictor,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Kind of that idea.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, so which is why I kind of asked everybody first.
Right.
It was like, so I did kind of have this planned way in advance for this point. I think this season was probably the most planning I did with the maps and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was very detailed because it's not to like get too much into something that hasn't aired yet, but it's a multi-layer dungeon.
Yeah.
So it's you have to lay that. I don't know how you could. I'm sure someone can, but that would
Yeah.
be hard to wing.
Yeah. I mean, like there are some things that I switched out on the fly.
Sure.
But I mean, the planning took me maybe 3 hours total for the whole dungeon because I just here's all of my dice on the
Dice
fucking
drop.
paper. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, I think when it comes to those kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a line because I just don't go there, if that makes sense. Right? Like I don't want to go into something that's like super visceral and is going to make people uncomfortable.
Right.
And as much as I thought like maybe the hanging tree isn't super like it's probably not super bad, but I thought like for some people it might be. So I wanted to make sure that it was okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that I get. That it's when I was running the Call of Cthulhu one shot, we had that discussion, and I said, this is a way darker system. These stories are really fucked up. Like, but I need to know where I need to know stopping points. Like, I need to know what's not okay. And so I got a handful of them, and then I said, here is my big list of things that can happen to you if you start to see through the cosmic whatever other side of the gate kind of a thing. If you start to see through the mythos, these are things that happen. And it was things like and also noting that this is a system that actually deals with madness, insanity, so you have to be okay with that premise, otherwise we're not going anywhere. There's you're just not. And it was like, okay, you see an awful thing and you run away. That makes sense to me.
Yep.
That would be most people's reaction, is to just book it out the door and be like, nope, down the road. To faint.
Yep.
to start talking really, really loudly at the top of your lungs for like a minute. I'd start getting, the one guy got obsessed with the color red. So when someone else got cut,
Mhm.
he fixated on that guy. I was like, "You covered in red." I was like, "Oh, there we go. There it is."
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff like that is really interesting. But at the same time, I said, how are all of you with gore? And
Yeah.
they're all like, for the most part, like as long as you're not getting too detailed. It's like, oh, okay. So when I rip a dude's rib cage out and I just say ripped his rib cage out, they're cool with that. And that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Waving him around like a puppet on top of a car. That happened too. So he took the. It was so messed up. I was like, I can't believe I thought of that. He did. We used the starter kit, the lurker in the attic, Edge of Darkness story, and the lurker, when it realized that, because it was living in this attic of this old abandoned house, when it realized there were a bunch of people there to try to dispel it
Mhm.
and send it back to whence it comes, it
Yeah.
decided it can leave the house, it just can't go downstairs because of the wards that are up. So when it saw there was a vehicle outside and a
Yeah.
driver, it was like, oh, fresh meat dinner, and went out there, and they look at, the one guy looks outside and he sees his driver, and the lurker, which is like this Wendigo creature-esque with the super long fingers, has its hand just up in this dude's ribcage. It's so fucked up, and it's just waving him like a puppet. And then he threw him against the house
Oh.
and then jumped down off the car, because this thing must weigh a ton,
Yeah.
and picks the car up and throws the car against the house to try to get him to run outside,
God.
thinking like, if I start destroying this house that I can't physically touch,
Yeah.
you'll run outside and then I can pick you off, type
Yeah.
of a thing. Oh my god.
Wow. And so, like, those are the kind of conversations I'm gonna end up having to have with you guys
Yep.
when we get our next campaign,
I'm
right?
so excited.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I might be running the um the short adventure
Ooh.
for my friends on Tuesday.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, I wanted to get a bit of my toes dipped into it before I ran it for you guys. But I think what I'll do is, once I'm um, familiar with it and kind of have a bit of at least have a single run in, I'll run the same adventure for you guys, and then as sort of like a side thing, and we can kind of see how we feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that absolutely sounds great. And it's like a good intro to the, because it's a totally different system and world, and
Mhm.
subverts a lot of, I feel like subverts a lot of expectations and set stereotypes, kind of what we've been talking about, which is really cool.
And so for anyone on the that's listening that is interested in what we're going to be doing next, we're going to be I guess we've decided mostly as a group that we'll be playing Frag Eternum.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's an offshoot setting of Fragged Empire, which is a sci-fi post-apocalyptic setting, which is kind of neat. Like, I like the idea that all of the bad shit has already happened. Now you're living in a world where people are trying to figure out how to live together.
Yeah.
Like, how do you rebuild? Um, how do you like move on beyond destruction and war, and like use your talents to like help out? Um, Frag Eternum obviously is a little bit different in the sense that it's like a gothic horror. Um, we're dealing with mostly humans obviously, like, this setting will probably change a little bit based on what we all discuss. Uh, but one of the things that I find really interesting is your character. Um, Racial stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, they go by what is your character's nature.
Hmm.
Um, and that's another thing that I've been thinking about trying to implement. Like, if I have any more further D&D games, is maybe not going so much like the ancestry and culture, because your character, even within their own culture, is going to be an outlier, right?
Right.
So maybe your ancestry and your nature. As a person, what is important to your character? Uh, and it might be different from what your tribe and your village is, right? Um, so if you're a paladin within your tribe and you're like a tiefling, maybe you're going to get a strength bonus and that charisma bonus because those are the things that are important to you. Or maybe you're going to get that charisma bonus because like you're following the path of the paladin, but also you've been traveling a lot more than maybe your tribe.
Hmm.
You're well versed in the world, so maybe you take the wisdom because that is your nature, right? That is who you are.
Yeah.
uh, and I like the idea of sort of breaking those things apart and saying, who are you,
Yeah.
right? You're going to have things that are genetic to you that you're going to have, but what have you done that determines
Right.
what you're good at? So yeah.
What have you done? What have you lived and
Absolutely.
experienced? That's really fun. It's been an interesting experiment to look at, because we're still going to use 5e as the
Hmm.
basis for our sci-fi campaign, but by the time I got done, and I realized thankfully it's my OG players, so they kind of know like how my brain works at this point. I was like, you're about to get a lot of choices.
Hmm.
Might be too many, and if it's too many, tell me. They're like, I have 10 characters. I have to whittle it down.
Yeah.
But it lends, anything like that lends itself to allowing people to naturally move away from stereotypes, which I
Hmm.
think is a very good thing.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you don't have to when it comes to, like, if you want to play, the old scraggly wizard who's
Yep.
been a hermit his whole life. That's the kind of stereotype I'm talking about, not the awful racial
Hmm.
color coding stereotypes onto fantasy worlds, which is just the most bizarre thing. I
Yeah.
don't get it.
I don't get it either.
More like I always think of like the hermit, the nerdy scribe,
Hmm.
those types of characters who are staples in a lot of, or if you're talking sci-fi, like the captain who's a little bit of a smartass but a heart of gold type of, like a Mal Reynolds type of character.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I'm very curious. That system looks badass though.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that the stereotype thing was one of the things that I tried to really avoid when building the world we're playing in now,
Mhm.
for Chef's Night. Oh God. Sorry,
You're good.
cat hair.
Cat hair. Yep.
Um, so when I was thinking about what do like what do tieflings and demons and whatnot look like in our world, and what do they do, and what are they fanatical, are they not? um I was really interested in, as much as this world is kind of like high fantasy,
Mhm.
why do the demons have to be associated with um any sort of like demonic deity or whatever? Like,
Right.
we know that most of them live in a small community, kind of like an oceanside community, and they're a scientific community. all of the weird like mechanisms and stuff people find in the Underdark
Mhm.
were built by them. Like the rail systems and all of that kind of weird shit that people are like, I don't know how to use this. I barely know how to use this, but we're still going to do it. Um, we might die, but I mean, it'll be a faster way to get around. We sort of know how to maintain them.
Right.
We got some folks that are proficient with that, but like the demons don't come down here anymore. They're done with the Underdark. They've learned everything they've wanted to learn, and now, well, I mean, they're stuck up top in this small community, but they're still learning things up there, and the institute is up there, and they've got all sorts of things. And when people are like, "Oh, but you're a demon," they're like, "Okay, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
Like, I
And
don't.
you're short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Like, there's all sorts,
Yeah.
but they, there's some short ones, there's some tall ones, there's some giant ones, like, but they're all very like focused on knowledge and like furthering of understanding of the world, and less on, well, let's make a deal,
Yeah.
right? Like every once in a while you'll have one that makes a joke about, oh, you want something, well, let's make a deal, right? But like that's more of a play on like meeting someone new who's like, oh, well, you're going to be prejudiced anyway, so
Right.
but you're in my land. Like you're in my town. um but mostly it's all about like knowledge. They want to learn things, they want to further everything. I really like the idea of them just being like, we don't worship anyone, we don't revere anyone. The nine hells, as far as we're concerned, they don't exist. Like, science is our gig,
Yeah. Way too
right?
focused on the knowledge and
Yeah,
yeah. How
yeah,
fun.
yeah. So I don't know, it's things don't have to be the same all the time.
What? No way. Kidding me? In a made up world? What in the world are you talking about? Heavens no. That's not how any of that works. Um Yeah, I
let's not let's
highly
not let's not put this on
what's
Twitter.
that? Let's not put this on Twitter. No,
I have the bandwidth to
sorry.
deal with it right now.
You know what? Here's the thing: if people watch, almost 90 minutes of something just to bitch, then that's what the block button's for.
Fair point.
I have no problem blocking people.
Me neither.
I don't have the patience for that.
Mm-mm.
I know what, just as we're kind of wrapping up here, I know what was going to be kind of my last question. And I was just curious because I have been in this like gothic horror headspace just with everything I've been consuming and like rewatching, Haunting of Hill House for like the third time and
Yep.
writing a new module and everything. And you and I both like those types of settings. What is it for you that makes it like gothic or gothic horror? Like, what are the things that you really hope are there or look for? Or is it a feeling or an atmosphere?
I think it's more of an atmosphere.
Okay.
Um, Thinking like that old Victorian era
Mm-hmm.
sort of architecture, um, sort of like dim street lamps, all of those kind of those feelings, that atmosphere when you're kind of walking through, like those old English, like Jack the Ripper movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cobblestones, gaslights.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan of the idea of like steampunk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that really fits in with that kind of idea of, okay, but what else is interesting about this world?
Yeah.
Um, you're if you're walking down a street late at night, you got like the gas lamps, you've got that cobblestone, that old Victorian um architecture,
Mhm.
but like there's also things that are kind of running off steam in the area. You can really set up some interesting like vibes where maybe it's just the environment that's scaring the shit out of your people, right? Like
Yeah.
out of the corner, there's something off to the side of the house that's releasing like this hiss of steam, and everything is just blanketed in it.
Yeah.
And all you see are like the shadows of your friends beside you. At
That's
least you
creepy.
think they're your friends, right? Um, you had a group of people with you.
Yeah.
There's so much steam in the area now that a person who's 5 feet away,
Can't see
you,
him.
you just you just see their shadow because of the lights.
Yeah.
Like, is it still them? That shadow looks taller than your 5 foot friend. Like, is it the angle of the lighting?
Mhm.
What's going on?
Yeah. Didn't they have a hat on? Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's that like tickling of the lizard brain.
Yep.
Where you're like, or when you just know someone's behind you. I always do
Yep.
this too. I always like hunch against it because I could just, you just know sometimes. It's
Yep.
an awareness. Oh, that's creepy and I like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. And yeah, you can, I feel like you can easily throw steampunk in there and have it make a lot of sense.
Yeah. They do. The setting actually does deal with like technologies and stuff.
Yeah,
So I might play around with that a bit.
that's cool.
Um,
Makes for some interesting, really creative possibilities
yeah.
outside of you have a, a pistol and a sword and a cane if you
Mm-hmm.
need to fight off the bad, creepy things. What if you had a steam powered something or other?
Yep.
That's always fun.
What happens when that gets damaged?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's
you don't
good.
have any pressure in the thing, so how can you shoot the thing?
Yeah. Shrapnel or something. Something bad gonna happen. Oh shoot. Well, we are almost out of time. Was there anything else you wanted to address or tell anybody about? The podcasts are available on where at?
Everywhere.
I mean, I know, but yeah.
Yeah, so like Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, most of your podcatchers that you're gonna use out there, um, will be we're there.
Nice.
Yep.
Heck yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
highly encourage you to give them a listen. They're a lot of fun, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in one of them, but because they are really fun, and Nate has a really weird, fun imagination that makes things interesting. I can't bring just anyone on and talk about necromancers and morality, you know.
Yep.
It's to be a
Fair.
very specific type of person.
Mm-hmm.
And then next Sunday in the 4 o'clock Eastern PM Eastern time slot, Kayla will be on here, who's the other genius behind DMTK, and who has been on Chef's Night as well, and will be back
Mm-hmm.
in the very very near future. Because Eggs needs her girlfriend back, okay? Like she's had some really bad times lately. Kayla's such a good sport.
She is. Yep.
I put her through so much shit. And Kayla's an artist and a
Mhm.
writer and a storyteller. So we're gonna be. I am very very curious myself, as someone who can't draw at all, about how in the world she comes up with her webcomics and how she does any of that. This is why I like talking to people of all different like talents and varieties, because it's just like
Mhm.
I have no idea how any of that works. Someone tell me.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
Yep.
Well, cool. Anything else from you?
I got a question for you.
Oh no.
Is there anything in Chef's Night that you were curious about that you haven't got an answer on yet?
No! Motherfucker. Um. Oh God. Um. I don't know. I don't know.
Mm,
Eggs doesn't know because Eggs is way too worried about the present, which is not typically her headspace.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, you made her face her own mortality there a little bit, and she was not into that. Just like, I'm fuck. Um,
I did notice that, like, being a good, like, 40 feet away from the big bad thing,
yeah.
like, the whole battle, the last
Uh-huh. That was a character choice. she still hasn't used her gauntlets yet either to like run up and punch something.
True.
And she's wanted to, and then some shit happened, and she was like, I think that's a bad idea, like to get up in the fucking face of the stupid fucking piece of shit. God damn it. This is why I hack so much when we record, because it's like way at the very top of my register. Honestly, if it were me, it would probably be the question of Raquel more than anything else. Like, is there a way to stabilize this? Can we fix it? Is there something we can do? Type of a thing.
But you did.
Yeah, but what's to stop it from happening again?
That's a
And
very
like,
good.
how do you harness that energy? Because then I want to go play with that energy. It's bad.
So, yes, there's a way to stabilize it. Is it a way that Eggs would be able to figure out currently? No.
Yes. That's what I wanted.
Yeah. And like, we're starting recording season 6 on the 10th of September. Right. So we got a recording session coming up
this week.
This Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. Which will be the end of the current season.
Hot diggity.
So September 10th, season 6. You'll find out in season 7.
God damn it. I knew you were gonna do that to me. That city, I feel like for both, well, more for me, but Eggs definitely, it's in the back of her mind. Like, temporal shifts. Just because it's fine now doesn't mean it will always be. What does that mean? And is there a way to harness that for a better purpose? Like, is there a way to harness that for good? But then you start getting into the question of time travel, and what if you go back and fix bad shit, and you don't want to do that, and like, so it would be one of those very shaky questions.
It's the baby Hitler morality question.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. If you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you do it? And then what happens?
Yeah.
Afterwards. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't wait for people to get to Raquel though, because that's a wild ride.
So much stuff happens. Holy shit.
It was good. It was so much fun. I'm dead serious, you could build that whole place into its own module and make it droppable into almost any campaign, and just to throw chaos into a game. Oh my god.
So I had some ideas about like building a module around it. And I think we discussed that. The idea of like, because it was so warped, it would be really easy for anyone to build any kind of character they wanted from any time period for any sort of technology. And like, hey, I'm just going to go to my favorite tavern in the morning, and I wake up and I'm like, these aren't my sheets.
Yeah.
Like,
wasn't the bed over there?
House am I in?
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, this the streets still kind of align with what I know. So I hope my favorite tavern's still there. Okay, it is. And like, these are some really weird people. And like, everyone sort of comes together and realizes that, sure, they're visiting their favorite tavern. I don't know you. I don't know you. I've never seen you before.
Never
We
seen
all
that
look weird.
bartender. Yeah.
Yeah. Why does that bartender have like robotic parts?
Oh my
Or
god.
metal parts, I guess. Like
Yeah.
if you're
What's a robot? Yeah.
what's a robot? Um, like, yeah. Uh, and like you could just have this weird mishmash of folks um, realizing that, hey, we can bomb around the city and try and figure this out together because now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone knows the inevitable end is if they fix it, they never see each other again.
Right.
So like when you realize what's going on, if you fix it, do you fix it?
Yeah.
Or do you not fix it? Because now you're like, well, now I got a family, a new family. Like, what's
Right.
going on?
This gonna suck. Yeah, I freaking love that so much.
Yeah.
Ugh. So everyone pressure Nathan into writing that. He knows I'll help him. Um, but okay, cool. Well, thank you for throwing that curveball at me now. I'm gonna keep thinking about that. God damn it. I'm gonna go for a walk and just be thinking about it constantly. All right, so yeah, next week we'll be talking to Kayla, and there are 2 other episodes in the backlog if you want to see the first Worldbuilders with my buddy James, and then the other weeks with Rio, who makes really cool 1-page games, which is another thing where I was like, how the fuck do you do that? Cause I write too much.
One of the I think it was the Halloween specials that we did. Was Crash Pandas.
Oh, that's a good game.
Yeah.
Crash Pandas and Honey Heist.
Yeah.
Those 2 1-pagers. You shouldn't have that much fun with 1-pager games, and they are ridiculous.
There was a kobold one out there where you're just a bunch of kobolds going out to like steal from a horde, and I'm so into it.
Kobolds. I've played I don't think it's Grant Howitt, but it's the there's a goblin one.
Ooh, nice.
Where you all grow up in the same house and you share cages, and the goblin mom lets you out to go jump some guards or go sneak past guards to steal something back. And it's like nothing that it's not treasure, it's whatever she deems as treasure. It's like an old bone or something. I totally forget what it was. And it was so stupid when we played it, and it was so much fun. The one goblin drowned like that. It was just like
amazing.
It was so dumb. Oh my god. So yeah, these are in the backlog, and Nathan, thank you. That was so much fun. Super appreciate it. And go check out DM's Test Kitchen and DM's Test Kitchen. Chef's Night. Sorry, didn't mean to fuck that up. And Nathan's on Twitter as well. So we will see you again next week, and everyone have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.